Hi guys, welcome to AGI Inception, a series by On Air. Today we have Peggy from BigID. Hi Peggy, how are you?
Hi, Rupesh. Hi, Alberto. Nice to be here today.
Peggy, could you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. So, as you said, Rupesh, my name is Peggy Sai. I'm currently the Vice President of Data Solutions at BigID. We are a privacy data-centric organization that helps corporations with their use cases around data governance, data security, data privacy. I've spent the last 18 years in the financial services industry, mostly in data roles. On my last couple of roles, I've helped build out data governance programs, mainly from the ground up, coming from a data strategic perspective, forming data councils, data stewardship programs, really the pillars of a data governance program. And a lot of my projects have revolved around GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, and many other banking regulations that have been very important, where data is critical to the foundation of regulatory and compliance and risk management.
That sounds brilliant. So, Peggy, coming back to the theme of our podcast, what would your one-word command be for a self-assembling artificial general intelligence? And that command is also going to be one of the most important basic principles of the artificial general intelligence.
So it's a very good question, Rupesh. So immediately, based on my background and what I've always done in the past when it comes to a lot of the work, I think of trust. So it comes back to trust in terms of the data that's needed to analyze and to think about the components needed for general artificial intelligence. I can elaborate a little bit further because some of the work that I've done, in addition to the introduction I just said, also goes in terms of a lot of the analytics and a lot of the predictive work that we're trying to do to really understand customer behavior. It's not true artificial intelligence by the pure sense. It's a predictive machine learning, a little bit of deep learning, but what goes into a lot of this understanding that our data science and data analysts use is based on data. And I believe that data has to be standardized, has to be consistent, fit for purpose, and everyone involved has to trust the data in order for the outcomes and the results to be reliable and everyone can agree upon it. There's a very famous expression that we commonly use where we say garbage in equals garbage out. So really ensuring that the inputs for a lot of our learned models is things that we can all trust and rely upon. Otherwise, it's very hard to trust the results.
No, I love the concept of the word trust, because for us to start trusting the artificial general intelligence, in the very core, artificial general intelligence has to start trusting what it is working on and what channels it is working through. So if you think about it, trust plays a very big role when it comes to data privacy and also the, how do I say, use case scenarios of the artificial general intelligence. Like if we as humans don't trust the AGI, we are never going to be able to utilize the AGI at the very best of it.
Completely agree. I mean, we have to be able to validate and trust the results that we're incrementally seeing as we're building out a lot of these models and algorithms. And without that trust and to get the shared gain consensus from all the various experts involved, it's very hard to continue down this road of building out artificial intelligence and then eventually relying on those results. So trust is, it encompasses so many qualities.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
excuse me,
sure,
I interrupt
Alberto.
you, Peggy, but let me ask you a question, because this is one of the topics close to my heart, actually, and I'm gonna tie it to what you have said. Governance,
Mhm.
artificial intelligence prediction, got it,
Mhm.
and trust. And I think I need to ask you then, Google talks about principles of ethics for artificial intelligence at Microsoft, as well as global organizations. But you and I know governance is a very specific type of thing. What type of governance will you put around, not principles, governance, you will put around ethics so that it comes out at the other end, trust?
I think that's a very good question, Alberto. I mean, that's something that I'm also very passionate about as well. And I think about these topics all the time. Like, what is the right answer? How should organizations, especially these large tech companies, and myself being mainly from the financial services industry, should be ethical in terms of how they are utilizing and then actually taking action on some of these decisions. So I mean, I think of a framework, a very general framework in terms of how anyone involved in data should think ethically about how they're using it, how they're procuring, saving, and actually making decisions on this information. What I think is lacking today is a very clear code of conduct when it comes to ethics. I think what's missing. I think inherently people want to do good and don't want to make any unethical decisions or actions. But sometimes, you know, when there's so many people involved, and there is going to be the 1% that may do something unethically or take an action that can harm innocent groups of people. So things that I've thought about is, you know, certainly a code of ethics around data scientists, how collection and decisions should be made. I think more as data science teams, there should be a lot more checks and balances in terms of how decisions are made, assumptions are built into these algorithms. Myself, coming from a governance perspective, I like to think of, you know, when it comes to checks and balances, having additional groups of people or bodies, working groups to really, you know, agree or disagree on some of these assumptions and processes that should be built in.
Diversity of thought.
Diversity of thought, exactly, because you and I all know that sometimes when a certain mindset is only involved in building a particular model, the outcomes certainly will be a little biased. That's biased is ethics is another great topic when it comes to data and trust. And yeah, as you said, Alberto, it's all a part. You can't have a conversation on the trust without ethics, without bias, without talking about all these things. They all kind of
Okay, I have a question
together.
for you. I asked all the guests this. We have an AI. The name of that is Peggy Trust AI. It's a personalized AI for you. And do you think that that personalized AI for you will be different than the personalized AI for, let's say, for example, President Trump, for example, or Rupesh, or Alberto, or whoever?
Sure. I mean, I think it should be, right? Because everyone has personal preferences, personal interests, personal things that they're looking for. So yeah, I don't see why it cannot. It has to be different.
Good, but what about the core, the trust, the ethics? Should that be from artificial intelligence as well as from big data that you deal with all the time? You always have an input node. where everything comes initially, all the data needs to come through there. Let's say that your filter is trust, and within that trust is ethics and everything. So besides ethics, the diversity of thought, incredible,
Yeah.
and governance, what else would you put as a filter into Peggy Trust AI?
Well, I think that's what you said is a good starting point, like a good base for avoiding a lot of distrust, right? As long as there is a good faith, a good conscience among the people involved, that they have looked at all types of data sources. They've been transparent about assumptions made in terms of procuring the data. They've understand and have stated very clearly what the limitations of some of these results are because of the limited data set. So as long as assumptions are clearly stated, that there's been a clear effort to avoid these type of biases, and then, as you said, including the diversity of thought and having many people participate in this design and build out, and having the right checks and balances all throughout the process, and a large participation of people. I mean, it's really a democratic process. As I talking through it, that
something.
AI
what
should
an
be
incredible. We have some limitations of time, but I'm gonna need to wrap it up in here. But it's a democracy. AI is a democracy. It needs to be trusted. It's ethical. There needs to be a code of conduct.
And also it has to be
when I grow up, when I grow up, I want my AI to be Peggy Trust AI, to be similar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rupesh and Alberto.
Thank you so much, Peggy. It was great talking to you.
It's great to be here.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.